Welcome to Tech Commons Tips and Tricks with the Learning Technologies Group, offered through the UCSF Library. Let's get started. In this video, we will create and add questions to a CLE quiz. Just a reminder that the CLE uses the term quiz for the activity, but do not be mistaken. The quiz activity is a robust online assessment tool that can be used for self-evaluations, tests, exams, midterms, and finals. This video is the second in a three-part series on the quiz activity. In the first video, we added a quiz to our CLE course and configured quiz settings. The third video will cover grading quiz attempts. This video is roughly 12 minutes long. Let's start where we left off in our previous video. We had just finished configuring quiz settings and successfully added the final exam to the CLE course. To add, edit, or remove questions from a quiz, scroll to the administration block. From Quiz Administration, click the Edit Quiz link. This can commonly be confused with the Edit Settings page, which is the first page we see when adding a quiz to a CLE course, and where we configure settings for the quiz. The Edit Quiz page is where we add questions, assign a grade for the final exam, and weight questions. Let's take a step back and show how to access the Edit Quiz page from the CLE course. From the main course page, click the Final Exam link. Scroll down to the Administration block, and under Quiz Administration, click Edit Quiz. On the Edit Quiz page, first notice that there are two tabs at the top of the page, Editing Quiz and Order and Paging. We are going to look at both, but let's start with the Editing Quiz tab. The Editing Quiz tab is where we add questions to our final exam from our question bank. The middle section of the page is where we add questions and assign points. The right side of the page displays our question bank or all of the questions that have been created and used in this course. We are going to add questions from the question bank in just a moment, but first we're going to create a brand new question. The final exam will consist of 9 questions, 6 multiple choice questions, 1 matching question, 1 short answer question, and 1 essay question. We will first start by creating a brand new multiple choice question that we will add to our final exam. Let's go ahead and click the Add a Question button. You can see there are many different types of questions that we can add to a CLE quiz, 13 to be exact. Click any of the question options to see helpful information and use cases for the question type. You can also learn more about question types in our Support Center. We are going to create a multiple choice question, so let's select Multiple Choice and click Add. From the Adding a Multiple Choice question page, first click the Expand All link to make sure we're not missing anything. From the Category drop-down menu, choose the question bank category you would like the question to be located. I have created multiple categories and subcategories for organizational purposes in my course, and I will assign the question to the final exam category. Next, I can give the question a name. Question names are never seen by students and are used to help faculty and course staff quickly locate questions. There are many different types of nomenclatures and strategies for question naming, including using any of the following in the question name: objective, week, topic, or competency. For this example, I will call the question Final Exam Abdominal. Students will see any text or multimedia added to the question text field during their quiz attempt. I will go ahead and enter my question text, and remember to use the Paste from Word button if you are copying and pasting text from Microsoft Word. Notice that because we are using the CLE text editor, we can also embed images, audio files, and Media at UCSF videos in our question. There are many possibilities and use cases for using multimedia in quiz questions, including situational judgment tests. Our question will only consist of text, and I can apply some additional formatting to clean up the question if appropriate. From the default points box, choose the default weight for the question. We can always update this later in the quiz making process, and I'm going to leave this at the default setting 1. If this is a question that is consistently worth more points than other questions when added to a CLE quiz, we could choose a default point of 2, so it is automatically weighted 2 times more than other questions in the quiz. We will look at this in more detail after we have added a few questions to the final exam. We can now enter general feedback for the question that students will see during quiz reviews. Remember that we configured review options for the final exam in Video 1 to allow students to review general feedback after the quiz has closed on May 20th at 2 p.m. I am going to provide more information about the correct answer in the general feedback field. Before adding answers to the multiple choice question, we need to configure whether the question will have one answer or accept multiple correct answers. Single answer questions allow one and only one answer to be chosen by students using radio buttons. Multiple answers allow students to choose one or more answers by selecting checkboxes next to each response. Each answer may carry a positive or negative grade, so that choosing all the options will not necessarily result in a good grade. For this question, there's only one correct answer, so we will choose one answer only. From the Shuffle the Choices setting, we can shuffle the question responses only if we have enabled the Shuffle Within Questions setting on the Edit Settings page. We did enable Shuffle Within Questions when setting up the quiz, and we'll select the checkbox to shuffle the choices for this question. Next, we can choose how to number the question choices using a few different formats. I like the default setting, and we can leave it as is. We are now ready to set up the answers for the multiple choice question, configure grades, and enter specific feedback. There are 4 possible answers for this question, and let's enter each in choices 1 through 4. Let's go back and assign grades for each response. We only need to assign a grade of 100% for the correct response, so let's change the grade drop-down menu for choice 3 to 100%. We can enter specific feedback that students will see during the quiz review, depending on the response they chose. Remember that we configured review options for the final exam in Video 1 to allow students to review specific feedback after the quiz is closed on May 20th at 2 p.m. I can enter great work in the specific feedback field for the correct answer and enter refer to chapter 14 in your textbook for the incorrect answers. Keep in mind, you can also provide specific feedback using videos, images, and audio. If the multiple choice question has more than 5 responses, I can choose to add 3 more by clicking the Blanks for 3 More Choices button. The Combined Feedback section offers another way to provide additional specific feedback to students during the quiz review. Students will receive the feedback based on whether they got the question correct, incorrect, or in the case of multiple answers, partially correct. Moving to the multiple tries section, if we use the interactive with multiple tries or adaptive mode question behavior setting, students would have multiple attempts at the question and we could penalize students for incorrect tries. Additionally, we could configure hints that will display to students between each try. Because we configured the quiz settings for our final exam to use the deferred feedback question behavior setting, students only have one attempt at each question, so we can skip the multiple tries section. Even though we cannot currently search CLE quizzes using tags, we can assign tags to quiz questions that can be used in future versions of the CLE. Let's add 2 tags for this question, Final and Crohn's, separating each with a comma. Let's review the question and answers to confirm everything is set up correctly. And click Save Changes and Continue Editing to remain on the page, or click the Save Changes button. I will click the Save Changes button and will be directed back to the Edit Quiz page. Notice that the multiple choice question has been added to the quiz. Next, let's add 7 more questions to the final exam that have already been created. On the right side of the page, we can see our question bank. We can use the drop-down menu at the top of the page to select and view question bank categories in the course. Let's first take a look at some of the icons and buttons we see on this page and what they do. Let's add 7 questions to our final exam by selecting the checkboxes next to the questions we want to add to the quiz. After selecting the questions, scroll to the bottom and click the Add to Quiz button. We now see that our final exam consists of 8 questions, and I want to add one more. I'm going to click the Add a Random Question button to add the last question. From the pop-up window, I will choose to pull one random question from the Week 4 category. Each student will get a randomly selected question from the 3 questions in the Week 4 category. Let's click the Add Random Question button to add the question. All questions have been added to the quiz, and we have a few more things to do before students attempt the final exam. First, I want the final grade to be worth 100 points, so I will enter 100 in the maximum grade box and click the Save button. I also want to change the weight of question number 4 so that it is worth 2 times more than the other questions. I can do this by simply changing the points box to 2 for question number 4 and clicking the Save button. To determine how many points each question is worth, we need to do a little math. We divide the maximum grade by the total number of points to get our points per question. So questions 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9 are worth 10 points, and because question number 4 carries twice the weight as the other questions, it is worth 20 points. We can change the maximum grade and question weights before, during, or after a quiz has been attempted. The last thing we need to do on the Edit Quiz page is to set up question ordering and paging. Let's go ahead and click the Order and Paging tab. In the previous video, we chose to create a new page every 3 questions and also selected to shuffle questions randomly in the quiz. Because of this, we cannot repaginate on the Order and Paging tab. Questions are going to be randomized for students by default. If we did not shuffle questions in the final exam, I could configure pagination for the quiz in the Order and Paging tab. Let's return to the Edit Quiz tab for a final review of our questions and points. From the Administration block, under the Quiz Administration section, I can preview the final exam to confirm everything is set up correctly before returning to the main course page. Congratulations! We have successfully added questions to the final exam, and the quiz is ready for students to attempt on May 20th at 8 a.m. We will continue in the next video when we grade students' attempts after the final exam has closed on May 20th at 2 p.m. Thank you for joining me today, and watch the Grade A Quiz video to continue. Have questions about this video? Contact Learning Tech staff by email, Twitter, or visit our support center at learningtech.ucsf.edu.